What's ever up, everyone? This is Rich from the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour, and welcome to the latest episode. You can find me on X at Fuzz Doom Rip and all the socials at rich.paiva as a reviewer from Wikipedia of Metal and as a Doom Charts contributor. And I'm very excited to have one of my favorite bands actually on the show, Obsidian Sea, all the way from Bulgaria, correct? Are you guys in Bulgaria currently right now?
Yes, we are.
Still are.
Love it. Excellent. The first episode interview from Bulgaria. So very happy to be doing that. And so why I kind of asked you guys to be on the show. First of all, your last record, Pathos, was one of my favorites that have come out since like 2020. I love that record, and I've been a big fan since then. And I was on a podcast where I was asked to name my 5 favorite current heavy underground bands, and your name came up and as one of my 5 favorites, and I just always think that more people should know you guys and should dig into your music. And then I saw you guys were playing some shows because I follow you on Facebook, so I'm like, let me see if these guys will come on the show. So here we are. So very happy about that. So if you guys could introduce yourselves and what you guys do in the band, and just a little bit about you guys, if that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
You can make that happen. We could do that. That'll be good.
So first of all, thank you for your invitation. It's a pleasure, of course, to participate. My name is Božidar. You can call me Bobby if you like. I am the drummer in Obsidian Sea and a founding member. We started maybe, I can't even remember, maybe 20 years ago. I guess something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're the first. Looks like the first demo you guys did, if Metal Archives is correct, was like 2010. Which and then you guys were together before that, doing stuff and playing out as well. Then. Oh, I think we're good.
Do we have sound?
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
Okay,
also.
now. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
We are online now. So,
yeah.
I am.
Oh, right.
I'm the guitar player and the main vocalist of the band. Also the other founding member. And we actually did start in 2009, I think. It was together with Bobby, the drummer. We were a duo. And for a couple of years, maybe 3-4 years, we were actually a duo. We recorded an album. Our debut album was recorded just by ourselves. And at the time, we saw ourselves as, we didn't know what we were doing, basically. We were more like a studio project than a real band. But in time, when offers for live shows came, we actually got a third member, a bass player, a guy who is now not in the band but is still an old friend, and that's how things started rolling. And this next to me is Dylan. Himself.
Hi, I am the current bass player of the band. We know each other many years ago. I noticed the guys from the first album and I love them. So we've been in same rehearsal, and the original bass player is a friend of mine from my hometown. So it became very easy to step in his shoes. And last almost 3 albums, yeah, because I was very near when the second was on the way.
I mean, we've known each other for a long time, and it's a very small scene, so everybody knows everybody else, and just things happen naturally. And we've been together for almost 10 years now in this line, and I hope this
It's awesome.
stays.
Yep.
Yeah, when you said you were the current bassist, that sounded temporary. So, we want to make sure that it's not the current bassist, it's just the bassist, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is
Everything is temporary, but we'll see what we can do about it.
yeah. So
Very true. Very true. Very true. Um, so I wanted to ask you specifically. I feel like when you guys had put your two records out on Ripple Music, your sound kind of took it to the next level. Where your first couple were doomy and had certain influences, but I feel like you kind of stepped into your sound with Strangers, and then on Pathos just kind of knocked it out of the park. How did you guys wind up working with Todd at Ripple, and what was that relationship like putting out those two records?
Well, we have. I think it happened through Doom charts. Actually, strange enough, we have a common friend here who is like a, you can say, a connoisseur of the scene, who's a DJ, who's a local promoter.
the first stoner webs in here.
Yeah, yeah. So he's like
Hmm.
kind of the pioneer of this type of music in Bulgaria, and he's also a good friend of ours, Martin. And he so happens to know Todd, or a friend of Todd's, I think, from the Doom charts. And he, we have actually recorded Strangers already. So this is like maybe 2018, something like that.
Yep.
And we were looking for suitable labels. And we asked Martin, and then he said, well, why don't you write an email to this guy called Todd Severin from the States, and maybe he'll be interested. And that's how it happened. Originally, to be honest, because I was dealing with the correspondence and everything, and I wasn't really sure if we were going to qualify, if I'm able to say so. But he was very positive. He liked the album from the onset, and he said, "Okay, guys, I want to work with you," and that's how it happened. And then just the next album after Strangers, Pathos, it was just a natural progression from that. And he was, when I offered him, I said to him, we're recording new material. Are you interested? And he said, of course. Your family, we're doing it, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, and by the way, Pathos was born from COVID entirely because stopped everything, and we just wrote from first note till the record about 6-7 months. So yeah,
I can't tell you how much I love that record, and I think it was my number three of 2022. And if I went back and redid it, it would probably be my number one. It's so weird that COVID was such a terrible time, and everyone suffered during it. But like the amount of creativity and music that came out of it, just because people had that time to do that. I'm still talking to bands today that a lot of the material that they're putting out or that they're still working on came out of that time. And if there's one positive to take away from all its suffering and all we went through, the creativity and the amount of art that came out that's just so good, it's pretty amazing. So yeah. So you mentioned the Bulgarian scene, right? You have a small little scene in Bulgaria. Tell me, what is it like? What do you guys have? What kind of bands are there? Do you guys? I know. Do you guys are you in other bands that you kind of play out in Bulgaria, or how does that all work there?
Is this okay? Well, what can I say? I think it's a very, very underdeveloped scene, unfortunately, because we still have a lot of catching up to do when it comes to promotion. You know, just the biggest problem is probably the bands actually trying to get some publicity, because there are good musicians. I guess everywhere there are good musicians, but unfortunately bands don't last. We have some good bands coming up, but once they hit that wall,
the hardest second album.
yeah, many of the bands that we have release a debut album they try this and that, and then just simmers away, and they get disillusioned with things. So it's a very small scene. Everybody knows everybody. I Us two, me and Bobby, there we don't play in any other bands, but that's a conscious choice because I've always wanted to concentrate on this one band because this is my thing. But they don't play with quite a lot of local bands, so maybe he can tell you more about that.
Yeah. I've been all over the bands last 30 years. So, uh, but yeah, we got. I've been in a band like first instrumental stoner rock metal band center. But yeah, we just separate each other, and now I'm in Obsidian Sea, and I got a second band also, Robert. It's something like type of negative.
Love that sounds very one of my top five favorite bands of all time is Typo
You should
Negative.
check out Center. Center were a great band, and especially a great live band. Unfortunately, there aren't, I don't think, that many, documented gigs.
Yeah.
But maybe you should check out their album. It was actually one of the, even if they don't know it, one of the bigger inspirations within the scene. Because I think that this was a band that one of the few that sounded really, really good, really pro, and people were
Awesome.
looking up to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Haha,
Fuck yeah.
always.
If I can add, just to add a few points, I suppose that underground culture here never had the chance to develop in a certain manner that longevity of the bands themselves can be actually achieved because if you're looking at from an outside perspective, we're still working on it, trying to actually create a scene, an actual underground rock and roll or heavy metal scene or whatever you like to call it. Uh, I don't think that we're actually at that certain level. I'm not trying to downplay, or
Sure.
look down on my fellow musicians, local musicians, but that's just a consequence, not a lack of abilities or something like that, but experience, I guess, something like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
I was talking to a label mate of yours, Stefano from the band Warco, who's they're Italian, and their section of Italy, there's nothing. There's like just it's like cover bands and like like early 2000s System of a Down cover bands, which I'm sure that would be fun for a night, but not necessarily something that's driving a scene. So I think a lot of times, whether it's in a country or in a certain area of a country, sometimes it takes bands like yourselves or bands like Warco kind of helping to drive that, and maybe also getting in the van and getting a little further away from the current scene because maybe it's just not a thing that can happen, but hopefully it is something that you guys can drive up. But just thinking about that and thinking about how Obsidian Sea came to be in the bands that you were in, coming up in Bulgaria, what were some of the big bands that kind of influenced the music that you guys listened to, and what were some of the ones that you would say maybe influence what Obsidian Sea is now? Like you can look and you can see bands that they compare you to on the internet, but I always like to hear it directly from the bands, like where you pull some of that influence from.
yeah, okay. I mean, I have to be honest that I kind of hate that question because I am actually never sure how much of those influences go into the actual music. Because thing is, I think it's safe to say that all three of us grew up on heavy metal, and the most classic heavy metal you can think of, like the Iron Maidens and the Judas Priests, Dio, and the classics. And so then everybody got their own way. For me personally, one of the first bands that truly influenced me was Black Sabbath, and this is probably the most cliched answer you would ever get, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is because at the time I was a teenager, so like maybe 14, 15 years old, even younger, maybe 12. The only thing we had were cassettes, and they were all pirated. There weren't any digital albums. It was very hard to come by because this is early 90s, mid 90s, and so for instance, for years I had Volume 4 by Black Sabbath with a totally pirated cover art, which wasn't the original. It was just this black thing with gothic letters, and it said Black Sabbath. And that was it. To me, that
Black
was
Sabbath, Black Album.
exactly. So for me, that was an actual album, and years later, I got to know the truth, and I was like, whoa, this is completely new. So I discovered all those very famous bands just for myself because I really wasn't in the company of other metal fans or hard rock fans. So every discovery was like all these very famous bands. For me, it was completely new. So it was a very pure experience. And so personally, I cannot deny that influence. Sabbath, and then the heavy metal classic Judas Priest, Maiden, these kind of things. But for me, it's through the years, because as you said in the beginning, the albums sound different, and there is a certain progression of sound. And then I got to listen to a lot of other things, classic doom metal from the 80s, Trouble, Pentagram, Saint Vitus, if you could call that doom, because the Italian scene from the 80s, Paul Chain, Black Hole, and a lot of progressive rock. I listen to quite a lot of progressive rock. I don't think we can say that we are prog in any conceivable way, but it's a big influence, especially the Italian scene from the 70s. Panko and Lieto per l'Inferno and these kind of bands. And of course, we get influenced by contemporary bands, which is inevitable. But it's just I never personally I've never had like a big hero that I want to emulate in my playing, or this big idol band that I want to sound like. So it's just this big mix of things, and that's it.
How about you guys? Anybody you would specifically call out from a rhythm section that you loved? And Anton, to your point, it is a relatively lazy question, but for me, like I do like I don't know 10 to 12 reviews a week, and you just kind of start to think about and you got to go in that direction. Half the time when I mention bands that I think bands sound like on interviews, they're like, I've never listened to that band in my life. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it's me just generating these things in my head based on what I'm hearing and what all those things that I'm listening to. So I find it interesting just because we interviewed a band yesterday, the band Wolftooth, another band, another co-label band. And Chris, the lead singer, was like, I don't really listen to music. I'm like, wow, that's another very interesting. He's like, I did back in the day. But I don't really listen to music now. I work and I come home and I write and I write riffs, and I'm like, that's very interesting. But I digress. But for you guys, anybody who you call out as influences to your playing and to your just approach to music?
Too many.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go.
Since we are all in a band, and just to just to go back a little bit, Delan said that he's currently the bass player. Actually, this is the most long-standing Obsidian Sea lineup. So that's classical Obsidian Sea, the three of us.
Yeah.
So inevitably, I think that all of us are inspired or at least influenced by common musical genres or artists. Uh,
Just say Mike Oldfield.
yeah, Mike Oldfield is a is a favorite of mine. Not as a guitarist, of course, but I really enjoyed his stuff.
Goes.
Anyways, you know, in a similar manner as Anton, never actually aimed to, you know, implement something directly that I have heard or considered an especially big influence for me, because even in the beginning we went, you know, we went on trying to find our own thing, especially in an environment such as the Bulgarian underground scene, if you can call that. Mm, trying to sound distinctive, you know, that's original at least, you know, to have our own image, our own idea of ideas, and our to create something that lasts. That was our intention from the very beginning, and currently nowadays I find it harder and harder to get into new stuff. Not that there isn't any good new stuff. There's a lot, I guess. There are many bands that make good stuff even today, but being for so many years, you know, invested in in that music, actually, you might reach a level that, you know, it's, and when you're playing, it gets harder, you know, to get invested.
Yeah. I think the thing about, and one of the reasons why I think I dig you guys as much as I do is because there's not a band that I would put my finger on that said that Obsidian Sea sounds like this. Like when I have trouble describing what a band sounds like, that is like attractive to me in listening to it, because I want to be able to say Obsidian Sea sounds like Obsidian Sea. It, you know, there's things in there like you mentioned Trouble, you mentioned Saint Vitus, you mentioned those bands, sure, but like, you know, is there a band that sounds like Obsidian Sea? Obsidian Sea does. That's kind of the way I go at it, because like you said, like you've been doing this since 2009. You've developed your own sound, and I love it when a new band or a newer band, contemporary band, can say, that's the Obsidian Sea sound, or that's this band's sound. And there's not a lot of bands that you can say that to that aren't like Sabbath Worship or, you know, new wave of British heavy metal worship or things like that. So I think that's why I'm so drawn to you guys and to your sound. You know, I want to ask you, just because Pathos was 2022, you guys are rehearsing. So I'm assuming that means we might hear some new Obsidian Sea stuff relatively soon. Any news you can break here, or hints that you can give to people who might be excited or interested in hearing some new stuff from you guys?
Well, the first thing I can tell them is, be patient. Be patient, because things are really, really going slow. But I think they've already started, and with us, once thing starts rolling.
But we already play first new song, two
Yeah,
shows.
Ah,
I mean,
teaser.
yeah, I mean, we have maybe one third of an album ready, let's say so. But we are taking our time, and because I think I actually have to agree with you that Pathos was probably, and I think the others will agree, our strongest album. yet,
Sure.
and we don't just want to fall with something that's the same, and more of this. We want to take our time and just make an album that's not only because better is a very subjective term, but let's say an album that we're proud of, and we're looking at the next one as this really important album. So we are not going to rush it, but it's in the works. It's in the works. So our hope is that next year, 2026, we should perhaps start recording something.
Yep.
And hopefully sooner rather
Excellent.
than later it will be out there. But we're not going to compromise the integrity of the songs because we really want to do this right. And I think this is a very important album for the band because we have a bit of an unusual history. We started very, very slow with very small steps, and we just needed a few albums to really find the right sound. And I think now is the time to actually make a really, really good album. And let's see what happens. But 2026, the plan is to perhaps enter a studio and start, really doing things.
Excellent. And you have a Pathos was just so great, and you have probably internally in your own heads probably try to figure out how you top something like that, a record that you guys sound like you're very proud of. So like I totally get going slow, but also as a fan, I'm like, guys, come on, let's get going.
It's kind of the same with us, We try to rush ourselves a little bit, but it's not always working right.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I really dig about you guys is that, and I think that you figured out over the especially the last record, was your sense of melody. Like, there's not a lot of melodic doom. There is some, but like I think that's the other reason why I Pathos kind of connected with me, is because you guys figured out this formula between doomy, dark, and melodic, which I think is very difficult to come by, and you don't hear a lot. Was there any conscious effort when you were writing around that to be catchier, or did it just kind of happen organically, or am I just hearing stuff when I listen to things?
I mean, I'll speak for myself, but again, the others can intervene anytime. But thing is, I think as a band, we like songs. We like to see ourselves as this song centered band, because the point is to have good songs that are memorable, songs that go somewhere, songs that are these little journeys from point A to somewhere. And I think it's important to keep that mindset, because I think a lot of what nowadays we call doom uh, can be very reliant on sound, because I think the idea of heavy for many people is directly linked to sound, to a heavy sound, to a fuzzy sound, to a layered sound. But to me personally, and again, I think I speak for all, to me, the idea of heavy and the idea of engaging is connected to the actual song, not necessarily to the sound, but to how the whole thing sounds, where it goes. So it's more of a musical idea than a technical idea. And I think you're asking if it was a conscious choice. I think it was a conscious choice, but also a subconscious thing, because we just like songs. We grew up on great songs that that's what inspired us. So it's like that. We want to have an album. We see an album as a collection of songs and as this little journey that goes, this, you know, this place and that place, and that's how it should be in my mind. So, if anyone wants to add anything.
Just to add a few words, I have, here and there, from time to time, I have spoken with, fellow musicians, not only from Bulgaria, but from around that, tend to have this approach of adding, more ordinary songs. I have heard, actually, I have heard that term a few times. It's a whole album. You don't need to push it too much. Just add some,
Filler.
some fillers here and there. That was never our approach. Absolutely never. We fully dedicate to each and every song to make it as best as possible, based on the initial idea, and to develop it to the best of our abilities and to the best of the potential it has. So, this idea of having something ordinary is absolutely uh, not suitable for us for our writing style. That's why we take so much time, to compose an album. Pathos was released in 3 years ago. It was written in 2021, so that's almost 5 years. But that's the way we do it. And I suppose that will not change.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Don't fix what's not broken, right? What you guys do is love the output, and you mentioned a band like Typo Negative, and I feel like they kind of took that approach too, where they kind of took their time. Wasn't a lot of stuff in between. They had other problems of why they didn't record between records, but there was nothing ordinary about what those guys did, right? And they just sounded big and were heavy without being like just crunching and death growls and everything else, right? Heavy just from an atmosphere, heavy from a lyrical standpoint, heavy from just like a vibe. And I do hear, and again, this is my own kind of thing. I do hear a little bit of typo in what you guys do, and I think it's more of just the vibe of the sound that I love, and it kind of just all encompasses it. But anyway, I digress.
I can,
I want to,
yeah,
please, yes.
I can add a little about the compositions. They're very unique each other. We don't write like couple of poppy songs, rock and roll stuff, and then we just tell the story. I think they're very unique stories about every song in this band, and I love it. Yep.
I think that might be Anton's prog side. You guys might not sound proggy, but maybe your approach to writing and storytelling and composition might be where your prog influence comes in. I don't know. It certainly sounds like you're not. Very cool. Well, guys, this has been awesome. Thank you for being flexible and taking the time to do this. I know it's not necessarily during a cycle of a record coming out or anything else, but um, I'm just a constant fan. Follow you guys on Facebook. Saw you were playing some shows and I always come up in conversations with bands I love. So I'm like, let me see if I can get to talk to them, just for my own fanboyness, but also to help spread the word because you guys have such great stuff out there that more people need to hear. And I want to make sure and help to do that because your discography is great. People who have not heard Pathos, I know I continue to say that one, but all the stuff you've done is great. But Pathos is a must hear for anybody who hasn't heard it and who's watching the show. And guys, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. And have a great evening. And please come back and talk to us if you can when you're thinking more about the new record and want to either preview or break some news. Happy to have you guys on whenever. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we just go on the tour. Couple days left.
Yeah, so
I noticed that, right? I saw some tour dates on your Facebook page. So what are you doing? What shows are you playing?
well, in a week we'll start our tour. It's more like a Central European, mostly Germany, but also Czech Republic, Switzerland, these places. And finally, we were able, after years of relative inactivity on the road, we were able to get back to that, and we're buzzing.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
If you're living in that part of the world, Germany, check out our Czech Republic, Switzerland, check our page, and just we'll love to see you there.
Yep.
That's awesome. We have a lot of fans in Germany actually who listen to the show, and I feel like Germany was um, a really good scene for you guys. I feel like that you guys would be very, very well received there, and probably are. If you haven't, if have you played Germany before?
Yeah, we did that.
Okay.
Last tour was just before COVID, so it was like this big call for the band. But now we're back, and we want to make the best of it.
That's awesome. Very cool. And do you guys ever record anything like videos of some of the shows that maybe you throw up on YouTube that people can check out, or anything that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I mean, we will.
Good idea.
We have some old videos from old shows, so check out, the social media. You'll most definitely find something that perhaps will give you an idea of how the band sounds live. And yeah, we'll definitely have more of those coming up.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, enjoy your time on the road. I'm very happy you guys are able to get back out there. Anybody who's in that area, lucky enough to go see Obsidian Sea, please go do that. Like I said, guys, I love having bands that I love on my show and our show. So if you're seeing this, go check out everything Obsidian Sea does. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great rest of your night, and I look forward to hearing more and talking to you guys again. And very nice to meet you.
Thank you, a pleasure.
Thanks.